This is the weekly roundup here on EAC News Channel. You'll look back at the past week in the Kingdom of Wonder. A very good evening. I'm Anthony Ellis. The Central Committee of the Cambodian People's Party held a meeting for 2 days over the weekend and achieved 7 major results, including confirmation of support the party President Prime Minister Hun Sen as the Prime Ministerial candidate for the 7th term, as well as continued show for support of Hun Manet as the future Prime Minister. EAC News reporter Shana Guchin has more.
In a statement issued on Sunday, 17th July, the CPP announced the results of its 2-day meeting where the party commemorated its recent victory in the Commune Sangkat Council elections and also showed commitment to promoting the implementation of certain priorities with special attention given to further expansion as well as the shortcomings that need to be addressed in order to strengthen the people's trust in the party's leadership. The party also announced its support for Party President Prime Minister Hun Sen as the prime ministerial candidate for an upcoming 7th term in 2023. The CPP stated, "The meeting solemnly endorsed the support of Prime Minister Hun Sen as the prime ministerial candidate for the 7th legislature of the National Assembly and the support of His Excellency Hun Manet as the future prime ministerial candidate." After winning the 5th mandate Commune Sangkat Council election, the CPP decided to hold a meeting of the party's Central Committee on 9th-10th July, but the meeting was postponed to 16th to 17th July. The 2-day party meeting was attended by 3,474 party members nationwide at the CPP headquarters in Phnom Penh. It should be noted that Prime Minister Hun Sen has been the Prime Minister of Cambodia since 1985 and has been the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Cambodia since the first term in 1993 to the present day. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
The Central Committee of the Cambodian People's Party has fully supported the 10th Amendment of the Cambodian Constitution, saying this amendment is useful to ensure the establishment of the highest national institution and ensure the peace of the people. In a statement issued Sunday the 17th of July, the CPP state that the 10th Amendment to the Constitution is aimed at serving national interests, ensuring the supreme institution of the nation, especially the executive branch, which has the primary mission of leading to the work of the general state to operate smoothly and sustainably in circumstances, and ensuring the protection of the maintenance of peace, social security, public order and political stability of the nation in all circumstances, as a foundation for its nation's development in all fields and the peace of the Cambodian people. On Friday the 8th of July, the Council of Ministers fully approved the new draft constitution and submitted it to the National Assembly for approval. According to Justice Minister Kat Rip, the current amendment to the Constitution was made to ensure the smoothing and functioning of state institutions, maintain stability and peace, fill existing gaps in the Constitution, and uphold the fundamental principles of the liberal multi-party democracy and the principles of the Constitution monarchy. The Real Government of Cambodia has appointed a Cambodian Competition Committee consisting of 7 relevant ministries and institutions, as well as some legal and economic experts. The committee is chaired by the Minister of Commerce, An Sorsak, with 4 deputies from the Ministry of Commerce, the Ministry of Interior, the Ministry of Economic, and the Ministry of Justice, with 9 members in total. The decision to form this committee, dated the 14th of July, states, "The mentioned components shall perform the roles or responsibilities as stated in the law of compensation." The decision to form this committee, stated the 14th of July, states, "The mentioned components shall perform the roles or responsibilities as stated in the law of competition and sub-degree on the organisation and functioning of the Competition Committee of Cambodia." The Cambodian competition law was signed into the force of His Majesty King Norodom Sihamoni on the 5th of October 2021. This law defines activities that hinder and undermine competition, as well as establish the defines of the competence of the Competition Commission of Cambodia in order to encourage new businesses relationships and to help consumers access high quality, low cost goods and services with many different options. The Ministry of Agriculture is preparing more than 2,000 tonnes of rice seeds and more than 50 vegetable varieties to respond to natural disasters that may occur during the rainy season. EAC News reporter Shana Guchin has further details.
Speaking at a press conference of the Royal Government Spokesperson's Office on Tuesday morning, the Director General of Agriculture, Mr. Nguyen Chai, said that in response to natural disasters destroying crops, local authorities and the Provincial Department of Agriculture must assess the situation with the Provincial Disaster Committee and make a request to the Secretariat of the Cambodian Food Reserve for a decision on how to respond. He said, I would also like to appeal to the authorities at all levels in the province. If there is a natural disaster, please hurry to evaluate the situation and make a request as soon as possible to avoid delays in providing seeds. He also said that the state is ready to intervene in the event of an outbreak or contamination, including animal and agricultural diseases, and will provide targeted technical training and work with agricultural communities to connect with the private sector. Cambodia's agricultural sector saw a slowdown in growth in 2019. However, it rebounded in 2020 and continued to grow by 1.1% in 2021, contributing about 24.4% of the country's GDP, worth more than $6 billion. Darshana Gauchan, EAC News.
World Vision organised a workshop on Wednesday morning, July 20th, to present a report and promote positive parenting and non-violent discipline through news articles and news programs. Speaking at the opening of the workshop, Mr. Leng Virak, Operation Director of World Vision Cambodia, said that the information provided knowledge and influence to people, especially to change mindset of the people. The role of the journalist is indispensable, he said. When you share the art of embedding the meaning that makes all those words deep in the heart, it changes people's attitudes. Ms. Chim Ratana, chair of the World Vision Non-Violent Model Campaign, said at the workshop that the elevation of the World Vision Child Protection and Involvement Program by World Vision has shown that COVID-19 has increased stress for the guardian and parents due to declining incomes and the parents being burdened by the closure of schools, which increased violence against children by 20%. She added that despite the government's policy framework, strategic plans and guidance, media and campaigns should be stepped up to prevent issues affecting children. According to the 2013 Cambodian Violence Against Children survey, about 53% of children have experienced some form of violence, most of which is from mothers and teachers. Director of Child Protection and Involvement Program at World Vision, Chay Vesna, said that the factor that led to use of violence in education children included culture factors, parental knowledge, gender equality, and legal factors. Punishment of children will have many negative effects on children, including physical and mental health, intellectual and emotional development, social outcomes, declining education, increased violence, and increased violence against children. It was also found the effect of human resources and the economy, which could cost Cambodia $168 million in health services, equivalent to 1.10% of the GDP, according to the report. 59 students from Cambodia headed to New York City in the US for the Copernicus Mathematics Olympiad, where they will compete against 26 other countries. EAC News reporter Darshana Gauchan has the details.
On Monday, 18th July, 59 students from 5th to 12th grade headed to New York in the United States to compete in the Copernicus Mathematics Olympiad. The students had already competed in the first round that was held online. They will now compete in the second round in New York City against 26 countries and 1,500 students from around the world. The Copernicus Olympiad has 5 main disciplines: mathematics, natural science, physics and astronomy, cybersecurity, and film festival. The top 10% will receive a gold medal and a certificate. The competition is in English only and no support will be given in other languages. The physics, natural science, and astronomy competitions were held in January in Houston, Texas. Cambodia so far has many medals in this class. The cybersecurity competition and film festival will be held in October in Los Angeles. The vision for the Copernicus Olympiad is to become a leading platform in each category and deliver world-class competitors in the younger generations to bring them together. Darshana Gauchan, EAC News.
The Standing Committee of the National Assembly has approved the adoption of 4 draft laws, including the draft constitution on 8 amendments to the Constitution sent to the Specialised Committee. EAC News reporter Darshana Gauchan has more.
This decision was made after the President of the National Assembly, Heng Samrin, held a meeting of the National Assembly Standing Committee on Tuesday morning, 19th July. The draft constitutional law on the amendment of Articles 19A, 89, 98, 102, 119, and 125 of the Constitution of the Kingdom of Cambodia and Article 3 and 4 of the Additional Constitution, ensuring the normal functioning of national institutions, was approved by the Council of Ministers on 8th July 2022. The new draft constitution allows the party with the most seats in the National Assembly to ask the king to appoint an elite as prime minister to form a government, and also details the process of when the prime minister is absent or resigns. According to Justice Minister Kautret, the current amendment to the Constitution was necessary to ensure the smooth functioning of state institutions, the maintenance of stability and peace, to fill the gaps of the Constitution, and to uphold the fundamental principles of liberal multi-party democracy and the principles of the constitutional monarchy of Cambodia. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
4 parties have submitted joint petitions to the National Assembly on the morning of Thursday, the 21st of July, asking for the amendment of the Constitution drafted by the government to be dropped, saying that this amendment will weaken the power of the National Assembly. However, the spokesman of the Ministry of Justice has declined the petition and asked the parties to re-watch the press conference held by the Justice Minister, Koit again. The 4 parties that submitted the petition are the Candlelight Party, the Grassroots Democratic Party, the Khmer Will Party, and the Cambodian Reform Party. A representative of the parties, Yang Virak, said that the 2 articles of the draft amendment seriously undermined parliamentary power. The new Article 119 allows the party with the most seats to appoint the Prime Minister to the King directly, without having to go through the Speaker of the National Assembly, and the new Article 98 increases the number of parliamentary members needed to place blame on the royal government in the event of mistake or bad governance. The spokesman said, "We do not support the proposed amendment, and we must ask the National Assembly not to approve the proposed amendment." Justice Ministry spokesman Chin Malin told EAC News that what the 4 parties were saying was inconsistent with the content and amendment, asking them to once again review or listen to the Justice Minister's explanation, providing it as a press conference held on 14th of July.
ចំណុចណាដែលគាត់មិនយល់ឬមួយក៏គាត់ចង់បានការបំភ្លឺបញ្យល់បន្ថែមគឺយើងរីករាយនឹងបញ្យល់គាត់លម្អិតបាទក៏ប៉ុន្តែក្នុងករណីដែលពួកគាត់យល់ហើយក៏ប៉ុន្តែធ្វើជាមិនយល់ហើយបន្តការរិះគន់ការអធិប្បាយចោទប្រកាន់ដែលខុសពីគោលបំណងនិងខ្លឹមសារពិតប្រាកដនៃការធ្វើវិសោធនកម្មដើម្បីគ្រាន់តែចំណេញផលប្រយោជន៍ផ្នែកនយោបាយរបស់ក្រុមខ្លួននិងបកពួកខ្លួននោះអានឹងយើងក៏មិនដឹងជាបញ្យល់ពួកគាត់យ៉ាងម៉េចទេដែរ
On Friday, 8th of July, the Council Ministers fully approved the new draft of the Constitution, which revised 8 articles. The law was accepted by the National Assembly and sent to the expert committee to review on Tuesday, the 19th of July. At a press conference held on the 14th of July, Justice Minister Kautret stated that the constitutional amendment was made to respect the will of the people who vote for the party they believe in. So the political party with the most seats in the National Assembly must be the leader of the government. He added that although the party with the majority of seats has the right to ask the King to appoint the Prime Minister to form the government, the National Assembly still has the full right to vote and give confidence to form the government.
គឺចាត់តាំងវរៈជនមួយរូបធ្វើជានាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីហើយវរៈជនមួយរូបនេះគាត់ទៅផ្គូផ្គងនៅសមាជិកភាពផ្សេងៗដើម្បីបង្កើតជារាជរដ្ឋាភិបាលប៉ុន្តែគ្រាន់តែផ្គូផ្គងបានជាបញ្ជីទេមិនទាន់ចេញជាគណៈរដ្ឋមន្ត្រីទេតើតែយកទៅឆ្លងរដ្ឋសភាហើយរដ្ឋសភាបោះឆ្នោតផ្ដល់សេចក្តីទុកចិត្តតាមមតិភាគច្រើនដាច់ខាតទើបគណៈរដ្ឋមន្ត្រីនេះអាចត្រូវបានតែងតាំងដោយព្រះមហាក្សត្រតាមរយៈព្រះរាជក្រឹត្យចុះអំណាចរដ្ឋសភានៅកន្លែងណាអំណាចរដ្ឋសភាគឺនៅកន្លែងបោះឆ្នោតដើម្បីផ្ដល់សេចក្តីទុកចិត្ត 50% បូក1គឺជាអំណាចរបស់សភាក្នុងរបបសភានិយមគឺអំណាចនៅកន្លែងហ្នឹងឯង
He also stated the amendment of Article 98 is to make the rules and regulations in line with the basic principles of the Constitution. He underlined that the current amendment to the Constitution was necessary to ensure the smooth functioning of state institutions, to maintain stability and peace, fill the gaps of Constitution, and uphold the fundamental principles of liberal multi-party democracy, the principles of the Constitution monarchy, and the ruling regime of Cambodia. Thousands of Palestinians on Thursday staged demonstrations in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip against US President Joe Biden's first visit to Israel and the Palestinian territories, slamming his biased stance on the Israel-Palestine issue.
In the coastal enclave of the Gaza Strip, governed by the Islamic Resistance Movement, hundreds of Palestinians waved Palestinian flags and chanted slogans at the square of the Unknown Soldier in western Gaza City to condemn Biden's visit, which started on Wednesday. President Biden, your administration has always been biased to the Zionist entity and has always been denying our people's legitimate rights, so we can denounce the flagrant American collaboration with the Zionist entity, Khalil al-Hayya, Hamas deputy chief in the Gaza Strip, told the rally, referring to the U.S. support to Israel. Commenting on the Jerusalem Declaration signed by Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid to establish a strategic partnership between the two allies, al-Hayya announced it as a blatant confirmation of the unjust U.S. policy against the Palestinian people and a new promise to the Israeli occupation that will not change the reality of the Holy City. He noted that Biden carried nothing in his pocket during the visit except the unlimited support for Israel and the focus on Israeli security and prosperity, and in return, he carries a package of false promises to the Palestinians. In another rally held in the West Bank city of Ramallah, protesters voiced similar opposition against the U.S. president, saying he did not take any concrete action or make any practical proposals to support the two-state solution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and his visit will not bring peace to the region. Hundreds of Palestinians also took to the streets in the northern West Bank city of Nablus in protest against the visit.
Much of Europe is baking in a heat wave as the scientists say it's consistent with the climate change and has pushed temperatures into the mid-40s Celsius, over 110 Fahrenheit in some regions, with wildfires raging across the tinder-dry countryside in Portugal, Spain and France.
What's he doing?
A man who was trapped in a Spanish wildfire escaped with his clothes on fire after attempting to prevent the blaze reaching the town of Tabara on Monday. Named locally as Angel Martin Arjona, he was driving a digger towards the fire in a field on the outskirts of the town when the vehicle was engulfed in flames. Seconds later, he was seen running from the fire, tripping and scrambling to his feet before flames could be seen on his clothes. Passengers of a stuck train in Spain watched warily as a wildfire tore through vegetation near the track in Zamora. The train was traveling between Madrid and Ferrol in the Galicia region, but the Zamora wildfire forced it to halt at around 9:30 a.m., the passenger who shot the video, Francisco Sion, said. Britain was heading for its highest temperatures on record, and firefighters battled blazes across southern Europe as a heat wave sent people hunting for shade and compounded fears about climate change. In Portugal, half the municipality of Murcia was on fire, and the bodies of an elderly couple trying to flee had been found inside a completely charred vehicle, the mayor told local broadcaster SIC. Wildfires raged across Portugal, Spain, and France, and authorities warned there was a risk of more as tinder-dry conditions persisted. We hoped we wouldn't get to this situation, but for the first time ever, we are forecasting greater than 40 degrees Celsius in the UK, said climate attribution scientist at the Met Office, Dr. Nikos Christidis. Climate change has already influenced the likelihood of temperature extremes in the UK. The chances of seeing 40 degrees Celsius days in the UK could be much as 10 times more likely in the current climate than under a natural climate unaffected by human influence, he said.
At least 12 people were killed after a bus fell off a bridge into a river in India's central Dhar district on Monday, the 18th of July.
Around 55 passengers were traveling from central Indore to the western city of Pune when the vehicle reportedly lost control due to brake or steering failure and plunged into the Narmada River. Interior Minister Madhya Pradesh State Narottam Mishra said, "Whether the brakes or steering wheel failed on the bridge above Narmada River is a matter of investigation. The bus fell in the river, 15 people were rescued, but 12 people who were pulled out could not be saved. Rescue workers pulled survivors and bodies from the badly damaged bus." Madhya Pradesh Interior Minister Narottam Mishra said 15 people were rescued. India's roads are among the world's deadliest, the result of untrained drivers, inadequate law enforcement, badly maintained highways, and cars that fail modern crash tests.
Siem Reap has been ranked 15th among the 25th best tourist cities in the world, according to the survey conducted by the Tourist and Leisure released last week. Siem Reap City scored 89.66 points, second only to Tokyo in Japan, which had 89.77 points, and Seoul in South Korea, which had 89.31 points. Mexico Oaxaca topped the table with a score of 92.96 points, while Slovenia's Jabarkaja with 25th with a score of 88.49 points. Other Asian cities among the 25 best tourist cities in the world included Abdud in Indonesia, Chiang Mai in Bangkok in Thailand, Japar in Upata in India, Osaka in Tokyo in Japan, Bodrum in Turkey, Muscat in Oman, and Hoi An in Vietnam. According to Tourists and Leisure, the ranking is based on voters' ratings of hotels, restaurants, cultural heritage, attractions, measures put into place to prevent COVID-19, and more in each tourist city around the world. The Asian Disaster Preparedness Centre has decided to provide 40 Sundek Techshell scholarships to Cambodian students to study in Thailand. The scholarship announcement was made during a meeting between the director of Kirk University and a member of the Asian Disaster Preparedness Committee, Mr. Krasek Chanawong, with Prime Minister Hun Sen was Wednesday morning at the Peace Palace. EAC News reporter Dashana Guchin has more details.
Mr. Krosei Chanavong informed Prime Minister Hun Sen that the ADPC has now become an international center which also provides scholarships to Cambodian students. During the meeting, he also requested to meet with Prime Minister Hun Sen next year as well. In response, Prime Minister Hun Sen welcomed the progress of the ADPC and instructed Mr. Krosei to meet with the Cambodian Minister of Education, Hong Chuan Narong, to select the Cambodian students who will receive scholarships. Information about what scholarships are offered have not yet been released. The Asian Disaster Preparedness Center is an autonomous international organization that works to build the resilience of people and institutions against the impacts of natural disasters and climate change in Asia and the Pacific. Established in 1986, it provides comprehensive technical services to countries in the region across social and physical sciences to support sustainable solutions for risk reduction and climate resilience. ADPC supports countries and communities in Asia and the Pacific in building their DRR systems, institutional mechanisms, and capacities to become resilient to numerous environmental hazards such as floods, landslides, earthquakes, cyclones, droughts, and more. Darshana Gauchan, EAC News.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov will attend the 55th Asian Foreign Ministers meeting and other related meetings from the 31st of July to the 6th of August 2022 in Phnom Penh. This was confirmed by the Cambodian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Deputy Prime Minister Prak Sokhonn. Deputy Prime Minister Prak Sokhonn has confirmed that he has sent invitations to foreign ministers of 38 countries, including Russia. The Russian embassy in Cambodia has meanwhile also confirmed the participation of Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in the upcoming ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting. Deputy Prime Minister Prak Sokhonn stated that Russia is one of ASEAN's dialogue partners, as it also included in the agenda of the ASEAN-Russian meeting. More importantly, he added that Cambodia is a coordinating country between ASEAN and Russia, and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, in addition to attending the 55th Asian Foreign Ministers meeting, will also co-chair the ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting on ASEAN and Russia. The Deputy Prime Minister has also confirmed that while Ukraine has submitted a proposal to become an ASEAN dialogue partner, due to delays in the application process and evaluation, Ukraine would not be able to participate in this year's ASEAN meeting. He, however, added that following talks with the ASEAN Secretary-General on Monday, the 18th of July, he is also able to confirm that Ukraine will be able to join the ASEAN dialogue next year. The 55th Asian Foreign Ministers meeting and related meetings will be held on the 31st of July to the 6th of August 2022 in Phnom Penh. Delegates attending the 55th Asian Foreign Ministers meeting and related meetings will be from the total of 39 different countries, including Cambodia. There will be 27 countries participating in the ASEAN Regional Forum and 12 ASEAN guest delegations. 2 foreign companies have signed a memorandum of understanding with Cambodian farmers in the provinces bordering Cambodia and Thailand to buy Logan fruit. EAC News reporter Darshana Guchin has more.
The 2 companies that signed the MOU are CP Cambodia in Pailan Province and China Jinan Engineering Import-Export Cambodia, announcing an order of Longan with 4 other province communities. The MOU was signed on Tuesday morning, 19th July at the Pailan Provincial Department of Commerce, chaired by the Minister of Commerce Pan Sosak, along with representatives of several companies. The Minister of Commerce urged local companies to have more agricultural processing and closer cooperation between neighboring countries and foreign companies in order to be more honest. He said, "For community challenges, we have to come to the Department of Agriculture to learn the techniques and produce standardized agricultural products to take to China, and most farmers do not yet understand their agricultural production." At the same time, the minister instructed department heads in the provinces to learn more about vegetables, export documents, and to find out about foreign companies to make it easier to export products smoothly and quickly. It should be noted that during the Royal Government Spokesperson's Unit press conference on Tuesday, 19th July, the Director General of the General Department of Agriculture, Mr. Nun Chai, confirmed that the governments of Cambodia and China had just completed inspection and discussion on the process of exporting longan to China on 15th July, and the department hopes to be able to begin exporting the fruit soon. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
The US Senate Department said on Tuesday, 19th of July, that 25 million people around the world are victims of human trafficking, including mainly highly vulnerable Ukrainians after Russian invasion.
During the release of its annual report on human trafficking, Secretary of State Antony Blinken honored activists fighting against trafficking, including the president of Ukrainian NGO La Strada, Katerina Cherepaka. The United States report placed Russia on lists of countries engaged in a policy or pattern of human trafficking, forced labor, or whose security forces or government-backed armed groups recruit or use child soldiers.
The scale of this problem is vast. There are nearly 25 million people currently victims of trafficking. 25 million people. The United States is committed to fighting it because trafficking destabilizes societies, it undermines economies, it harms workers, it enriches those who exploit them, it undercuts legitimate business, and most fundamentally, because it is so profoundly wrong. Katerina Cherepaka leads the Ukrainian chapter of the anti-trafficking NGO La Strada. As we all know, since the start of Russia's aggression against Ukraine, millions of Ukrainians have had to flee their homes, some internally within Ukraine, some leaving the country altogether. Many, most, with just what they were able to carry. And that makes them highly vulnerable to exploitation. La Strada has a hotline. It's received an unprecedented number of calls over the past 5 months. The organization has given literally thousands of Ukrainians the information and assistance that they need to try to stay safe as they're forced from their homes.
Russia appears frequently throughout the report because of its February 24th invasion of Ukraine and what the document called the vulnerability to human trafficking of millions of Ukrainian refugees who fled their country. The Russian embassy in Washington did not respond immediately to a request for comment on the allegations in the report. In addition to Russia, the new section listed Afghanistan, Burma, Cuba, Iran, North Korea, and 5 other countries with a documented policy or pattern of human trafficking, forced labor in government-affiliated sectors, sexual slavery in government camps, or employ or recruit child soldiers. The report also contained a separate list of 12 countries that employ or recruit child soldiers. It includes Russia and a number of those on the new state sponsors list.
Russian President Vladimir Putin visited Iran for the 5th time. Is it a lot or little? Well, if you count back in 2000 when he first became a leader of Russia, it doesn't seem much.
Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Tuesday that Russia, Iran, and Turkey were committed to continue efforts on normalization of the situation in Syria. Speaking after meeting with leaders of Turkey and Iran in Tehran, Putin said the countries agreed to continue consultations on Syria. Russia and Turkey were satisfied by meeting in Istanbul last week, where the sides discussed grain exports via the Black Sea. Russia, Ukraine, Turkey, and the United Nations are expected to sign a deal later this week aimed at resuming the shipping of grain from Ukraine across the Black Sea. Putin and Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan held a meeting in Iran earlier on Tuesday, when Putin said that not all the issues had been resolved yet on the topic, but the fact that there is a movement is already good. Putin added that Russia and Iran discussed usage of national currencies in bilateral settlements. Iran is increasingly involved in the multilateral format of cooperation with Russia. It has already joined the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. The accession procedure will be completed in autumn, and Tehran wants to join BRICS. In other words, we are talking about a full-fledged course towards strategic cooperation between the two countries, both bilaterally and on the global stage. Russia and Iran have enormous potential for cooperation, from trade to the north-south transport corridor linking the Baltic Sea to Iranian ports in the Arabian Sea. That is, the European Union to India via the Caspian Sea. There is no need to think that Russia's conflict with the West has made it irrelevant. The potential for north-south trade is still enormous. Even if the war of sanctions between Russia and the EU lasts for a long time, the corridor will be needed for Russia's trade with the Middle East and Asia. The Islamic Republic is not a carbon copy of foreign models, Western or Eastern. It is a unique Iranian invention. It is complex based on both traditions, religious and national, and the notion of the correct form of popular representation and the application of Islamic law. With its problems, mistakes, and lessons, but surviving in the most difficult external conditions, none of the great powers, and Iran is undoubtedly among them, has demonstrated anything like this kind of creativity in building a new kind of state in recent decades. The last one to have a similar experience was the Soviet Union. Iran supports a political solution to Syria's crisis. Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi said in a televised speech to a three-way summit with Russia and Turkey on the Syrian conflict in Tehran. During the talks, Raisi denounced the presence of American forces in the country. Syria's fate should be decided by its people without foreign intervention, he said. The illegitimate presence of occupying U.S. forces destabilizes Syria.
If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. The EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favorite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear.
The United States has expressed a commitment to the success of the ASEAN and continued to work with Cambodia as the ASEAN chair, but appears to show some dissatisfaction with the confirmation that the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, will be taking part of the Asian Foreign Ministers meeting starting at the end of July. EAC News reporter Darshana Guchin has more details.
Responding to a query from EAC News via email, U.S. Embassy spokesperson Stephanie Arzate wrote, "We are committed to the success of ASEAN, but it should not be business as usual for Russia's participation in the ministerials, given Russia's unprovoked and illegal war of aggression against Ukraine." The spokesperson's remarks are in response to the confirmation that Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov will be attending the upcoming ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting and related meetings held in Cambodia from 31st July to 6th August 2022. Cambodian Foreign Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Prak Sokhonn recently confirmed the Russian Foreign Minister's participation and stated that Russia is one of ASEAN's dialogue partners, hence is included in the agenda of the ASEAN-Russia meeting. More importantly, he added that Cambodia is a coordinating country between ASEAN and Russia, and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov will also co-chair the ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting on ASEAN and Russia. Additionally, the Russian embassy in Cambodia also confirmed the participation of Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Regarding U.S. participation, specifically of Secretary of State Antony Blinken in the upcoming Foreign Ministers meeting in light of Russia's invitation, embassy spokesperson Stephanie Arzate stated that the U.S. will only announce its participation closer to the Foreign Ministers meeting. Previously, on 13th July, during a press conference held at AMCAM Exchange, U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs, Daniel Kritenbrink, stated that he would be definitely returning to Cambodia to attend the meetings in August, but was not in a position to confirm the participation of any other U.S. officials at the upcoming ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting and other related meetings.
On the issue of U.S. participation in the ASEAN Regional Forum and other ASEAN-related meetings in August, I'm not in a position today to announce anything formally regarding the secretaries or any other senior U.S. officials' travel to Cambodia. What I can say with great confidence is I'm going to be here in August, and I'm confident that the United States of America, through the remainder of this year, will continue to demonstrate our commitment to ASEAN and to Cambodia as ASEAN chair.
The 55th ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting and related meetings will be held from 31st July to 6th August 2022 in Cambodia. Delegates attending the 55th ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting and related meetings will be from a total of 39 different countries, including Cambodia. There will be 27 countries participating in the ASEAN Regional Forum and 12 ASEAN guest delegations. Darshana Gulchen, EAC News.
The Director General Phnom Penh Water Supply Authority, Long Naro, has said that the construction of the first phase of Bak Kang Water Treatment Plant has reached 66% completion and is scheduled to finish 2023, while the second phase of the plant's construction has been reached 42% completion. EAC News reporter Darshana Guchin has further details.
Speaking during the inspection of the Bak Kang Water Treatment Plant construction site on Wednesday, 20th July, Long Naro said that after the plant has been fully constructed, it will have the capacity to treat 390,000 cubic meters of water per day. Phase 1 of the completed water treatment plant will allow for 195,000 cubic meters of water to be processed, while Phase 2 will increase water processing by an additional 195,000 cubic meters per day. He stated that the first phase of the construction project, scheduled to be completed in 2023, will meet the needs and consumption levels of the people in Phnom Penh as a whole. He expects that by the end of 2023 or the beginning of 2024, Phnom Penh will no longer face water shortages. Cedric Rood, the managing director of the French contractor Vinci, responsible for building the Bak Kang water treatment plant, said that his company has been working in Cambodia since 2013 and described the process as well as the quality of water production in Cambodia, which is in line with world standards. The Bak Kang water treatment plant began construction in January 2020. The Phnom Penh Water Supply Authority is optimistic that from 2023 onwards, it will have the capacity to produce a total of 1 million cubic meters of clean water per day to fulfill the lack of clean water in Phnom Penh and Tak Mau. Darshana Gulchen, EAC News.
Turkey believes an attack in Iraq's northern Donetsk region, which killed 8 and wounded 23 others, was a terror attack and caused Iraq authorities to avoid making statements influenced by terrorist organisations' propaganda, Annika's foreign minister said on Wednesday.
Iraq's foreign minister visited the site of a strike on a mountain resort in the northern province of Dohuk that killed 8 tourists and injured 23. Iraq's government said it will call back the Iraqi charge d'affaires in Turkey for consultation after accusing Ankara of carrying out the strike in Zakho, a city on the border between Iraq's Kurdistan region and Turkey, state news agency INA reported. Turkey has refuted these claims, saying the attack was a terror act. Speaking at the scene of the attack, Fuad Hussein said all Iraqi representatives held a unified position regarding this tragedy. We have big problems in Iraq, political problems, but there is a unified position among all the representatives of the Iraqi people, he said. Until now, the information that we received is that there was a bombing of this safe touristic site, artillery, and this calm, beautiful touristic village was hit. Protesters clashed with police outside the Turkish embassy in Baghdad, while south of the capital in Najaf, protesters hung signs calling Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan a terrorist. The top United Nations envoy to Iraq condemned the attack in a statement published on Twitter and called for an investigation. Washington are monitoring the situation following a shelling that killed civilians in northern Iraq, State Department spokesperson Ned Price said, declining to comment in detail while information emerges on the strike. In a regular press briefing, Price reiterated the U.S. position that military action in Iraq should respect Iraqi sovereignty and territorial integrity, and emphasized the importance of ensuring civilians are protected.
Prime Minister Boris Johnson addressed Parliament at his last appearance during the Prime Minister's questions on Wednesday the 20th of July, as the fight for his job is down to 2, Sunkak and Truss. The outgoing Conservative leader defended his record in the government, citing Brexit and covert response as his achievements. Johnson was forced to resign this month after dramatically lost the support of his lawmakers following months of scandals, including breaches of COVID-19 pandemic lockdown rules. Opposition leader Keir Starmer used this session to point at the economist leadership campaign to pick the leader to replace Johnson. The virtual between the candidates have been posed the question of how well any new leader will be able to govern. The final 2 in race and replace British Prime Minister Boris Johnson will be selected later on Wednesday. Former Finance Minister Rishi Sunak and Foreign Secretary Liz Truss made the final 2 candidates on Wednesday, July the 20th, to become Britain's next Prime Minister, kickstarting the last stage of the contest to replace Boris Johnson. Sunak has led in all the rounds of the voting among the Conservative lawmakers, but it is Truss who seems to have gained the advantage so far among the around 200,000 members of the governing party who will ultimately choose the winner. The final stretch of the weeks-long contest will put Sunak and former Goldman Sachs banker, who has raised the tax burden towards the highest level since the 1950s, against Truss, a convert Brexit who was pledged to cut taxes and regulations. Whoever triumphs when the result is announced on September the 5th will inherit some of the most difficult conditions in Britain in decades. Inflation is on a course to hit 11% annually growth, is stalling, industrial action is on the rise, and the pound is near historic lows against the dollar. Britain under Johnson and aided by Truss took a hard line against Brussels in the post-Brexit negotiations and Northern Ireland, drawing illegal action from the European Union and threatening future trade ties. 11 candidates originally put their names forward, but in the 5th and final ballot in the Conservative lawmakers, the junior trade minister Penny Mordaunt was eliminated. Sunak won 137 out of 357 votes versus Truss 113 and Mordaunt's 105. Polls show Truss would beat Sunak in the party members' contest, but all could change in the 2 finalists starts weeks of hustling up the down the countries before the party's membership. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov told state news agency RIA Novosti on Wednesday that Russia's military tasks in Ukraine now go beyond the eastern Donbas region.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Wednesday that it makes no sense to resume peace talks with Kyiv at the moment, the RIA Novosti news agency reported. Lavrov said the geographical objectives of what Moscow calls its special military operation in Ukraine were no longer limited to the eastern Donbas region. Lavrov also said Moscow's objectives will expand further if the West keeps supplying Kyiv with long-range weapons, such as the US-made high-mobility artillery rocket systems. That means the geographical tasks will extend still further from the current line, he said. Ukrainian armed forces said on Thursday they had killed 111 Russian soldiers in the south and east over the past day, as comments from Russia's foreign minister showed the Kremlin's goals had grown during the 5-month war. Russia's invasion has killed thousands, displaced millions, and flattened cities, particularly in Russian-speaking areas in the east and southeast of Ukraine. It has also raised global energy and food prices and increased fears of famine in poorer countries, as Ukraine and Russia are both major grain producers. The United States estimates that Russian casualties in Ukraine so far have reached around 15,000 killed and perhaps 45,000 wounded, CIA Director William Burns said on Wednesday. Meanwhile, concern that Russian supplies of gas sent through the biggest pipeline in Europe could be stopped by Moscow prompted the European Union to tell member states to cut gas usage by 15% until March as an emergency step. Russia is blackmailing us. Russia is using energy as a weapon, EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said, describing a full cutoff of Russian gas flows as a likely scenario for which Europe needs to be ready. EU diplomats meeting in Brussels agreed a new round of sanctions against Moscow, including a ban of importing gold from Russia and freezing the assets of top lender Sberbank. But Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky dismissed the sanctions as inadequate. Russia must feel a much higher price for the war to force it to seek peace, Zelensky said in a late-night video address.
The Second Minister of Foreign Affairs of Brunei Darussalam, Dato' Iwan Perhan Yusuf, was reiterated Brunei's full support of Cambodia's ASEAN chairmanship in steering ASEAN through many monumental world challenges today. The Brunei Second Minister of Foreign Affairs relayed this message during a virtual meeting with Cambodian Foreign Minister Deputy Prime Minister Prak Sokhonn on Thursday, the 21st of July. EAC News reporter Darshana Guchin has the details.
According to a press release issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation in Cambodia, the video conference meeting between Dato' Erywan Pehin Yusof and Deputy Prime Minister Prak Sokhonn was held to discuss some issues related to the upcoming 55th ASEAN Ministerial Meeting and related meetings, as well as to touch base on further deepening Cambodia and Brunei's bilateral ties, as the two countries mark the 30th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations this year. During the meeting, the Bruneian Second Minister of Foreign Affairs shared his views on how to enhance dialogue partnerships between ASEAN and the United Kingdom and New Zealand, for which Brunei is acting as the ASEAN country coordinator. He also extended his strong encouragement to Deputy Prime Minister Prak Sokhonn for his untiring efforts as the special envoy of the ASEAN chair on Myanmar, and shared his views and thoughts on how ASEAN could further advance the implementation of the ASEAN 5-point consensus. In response, Deputy Prime Minister Prak Sokhonn thanked his Bruneian counterpart for his country's support to Cambodia and shared his views on various multilateral issues and cooperation of common interest. Additionally, both sides reiterated their commitment to strengthening multilateral cooperation for the sake of peace, stability, and sustainable development in the region and beyond. Both ministers also touched on Cambodia and Brunei's bilateral relations and close friendship over the past 3 decades, which they both agreed had continuously strengthened in various areas for the mutual benefit of both nations. Darshana Gauchan, EAC News.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs and ASEAN Special Envoy, Deputy Prime Minister Prak Sokhonn, delivered a virtual keynote address providing an update on ASEAN's efforts to Myanmar at the IC's Yusuf Isaac Institute special discussion on Thursday. During the address, Deputy Prime Minister Prak Sokhonn said that Cambodia's approach to resolving the Myanmar crisis has without doubt received mixed reactions from both ASEAN pundits and the international community. However, Cambodia has gone ahead with clear apprehension that the crisis is deep and rooted with complex historical and political issues and adopted an approach driven by a certain pragmatism. He said, "For those who want to see quick solutions, I'm afraid there are none, and gave an example on how it took 20 years for peace talks for Cambodia to achieve full peace. From his 2 working visits to Myanmar, and Deputy Prime Minister stated that the most visible progress can be seen by the delivery of humanitarian assistance. He highlighted the implementation of the joint MOH Partner Vaccines Administration framework, where 2 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines were delivered to Myanmar as an example of what has been achieved thus far. Regarding the cessation of the violence, he explained that he reiterated that Myanmar State Administrative Council to excuse restraint and do not disproportionate response, as well as urged an ethnic armed organisations and political parties to adhere to the non-violence principle. The third priority of enabling a conducive environment for peaceful and inclusive dialogue, the Deputy Prime Minister said, has been far from the most difficult issue to tackle due to the deeply rooted history of the conflict in Myanmar that spans over 7 decades. He explained that for the first time in over a year that he was able to open the door for the possible talk between the SAC and groups designed as terrorists by the military government. However, this new space for political dialogue comes with the condition for those groups are only able to negotiate if they have no intention to destroy or replace the current government. Whether these conditions can be met with the relevant parties in Myanmar, time will tell, but at least the door is now open for them to enter into peace negotiation, he said, while stressing the importance of Myanmar-owned and led peace talks process. He added that Daw Aung San Suu Kyi has been identified as one of the most important actors in advancing exclusive dialogue and promoting the principle of non-violence. However, consistent requests made by the SAC to meet with her have not been met. Concluding his address, Deputy Prime Minister Prak Sokhonn said that he would do everything at his disposal as the ASEAN Special Envoy to alternative to the suffering of the innocent people in Myanmar, and asked everyone to be fair and respectful to those who are working hard to see the crisis come to an end. Deputy Prime Minister Prak Sokhonn has so far paid 2 working visits to the Republic of the Union of Myanmar, the first from 21st to the 23rd of March and the second from the 29th of June to the 3rd of July. The Cambodian Human Rights Committee chaired an interministerial meeting to write a report on human rights in Cambodia and to submit it to the United Nations. This meeting was held on Thursday morning, 21st of July, at the Office of the Council of Ministers. EAC News reporter Darshana Guchan has more.
During the interministerial meeting, the representatives of all ministries and institutions carefully examined all points within the jurisdiction of each ministry and institution to ensure that the information included in the joint document is accurate and comprehensive in each field, especially in its numerical data. After revising the final draft, the Cambodian Human Rights Committee will respectfully request Prime Minister Hun Sen's approval of the document and then submit it to the United Nations through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation to share to all treaty entities to which Cambodia is a party. It should also be noted that this joint document will cover all the necessary general information about Cambodia and will form the first general section of all reports for submission to the institutions of treaties provided by the Kingdom of Cambodia for ratification. It acts as a way to reduce some duplication of information contained in the National Report of Cambodia. Cambodia has submitted its joint principles to the United Nations since 1997, and any revision of the joint principles is in response to a request from the United Nations to update necessary information about the Kingdom of Cambodia. The document focuses on 3 main points: general information about the Kingdom of Cambodia related to all treaties, including information on the geographic, demographic, economic, social, cultural, constitutional, political, and legal structures of the state, the general jurisdiction framework for the protection of human rights, and non-discrimination and resolution. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
US President Joe Biden said he was doing well in a video released by the White House Thursday the 21st of July after he was tested positive for COVID.
In the 21-second clip, he also added he was getting a lot of work done and would continue with his duties.
Hey folks, guess you heard this morning I tested positive for COVID. But I've been double vaccinated, double boosted, symptoms are mild, and I really appreciate your inquiries and your concerns. But I'm doing well, I'm getting a lot of work done, I'm going to continue to get it done, And in the meantime, thanks for your concern and keep the faith. It's going to be okay.
Biden, 79, has a runny nose, fatigue, and an occasional dry cough, symptoms which he began to experience late on Wednesday, White House physician Kevin O'Connor said in a note released on Thursday. Biden has begun taking the antiviral treatment Paxlovid, O'Connor said. The White House will provide a daily update on Biden's health, and he will follow Centers for Disease Control and Prevention guidelines and isolate at the White House while continuing to work, White House Press Secretary Karen Jean-Pierre said. U.S. First Lady Dr. Jill Biden said she has so far tested negative for COVID after her husband, President Joe Biden, tested positive. The president is doing fine, he's feeling good, she told reporters. Joe Biden is the oldest person ever to serve as president for the United States. Experts like Dr. Citronberg worry about COVID-19's lasting impact, particularly with older Americans. The older you are, the more likely you are to have chronic illnesses that can complicate the effects of COVID, said Dr. Citronberg. That can certainly be a problem, especially in older people, things like brain fog, difficulty concentrating, and a whole host of other complications that can occur down the line from COVID. RT News reported U.S. President Joe Biden had announced to the press on Wednesday that he has cancer, although it is unclear whether he misspoke. Speaking at an event on climate change in Massachusetts, the president claimed that pollution in his home state of Delaware caused his illness. You had to put on your windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window, Biden said of the pollution near his childhood home, before adding, "That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up with have cancer." Washington moved quickly to play down another apparent blunder at the mic by Joe Biden, explaining that the president was referring to a diagnosis before he took office. White House spokesperson Andrew Bates confirmed non-melanoma skin cancers were removed and remedied.
The European Union approved the maintenance and alignment package of sanctions against Russia, allowing exports of agricultural products and oil to third countries. The European Council announced on Thursday. The restrictive measures include a ban of importing Russian gold, the country's biggest non-energy export, and jewellery. The European Council decided the list of additional individuals and entries and freeze the assets of Sberbank and Russia, the country's largest bank. The package extends the list of controlled items which may contribute to the Russians' military and technological enhancement or the development of its defence and security sector, thereby reinforcing export controls on dual use of advanced technology. On the other hand, the EU decided to extend the exemption from the prohibited to engaged in transactions with certain state-owned entries regarding transactions for the agricultural products and the transport of oil to third countries. The EU is committed to avoiding all measures which might lead to a food insecurity around the globe, the European Council stressed. None of the measures adopted Thursday or earliest target in any way the trade in agriculture and food products, including wheat and fertilizers, between third countries and Russia. Technical assistance to Russia for aviation goods and technology will be allowed, and prohibited to enter any transactions with Russia's public entries will be slightly amended to ensure access to justice. The European Council is the EU institution that defines the general political direction and priorities of the European Union.
If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. The EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favorite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear.
Four years from the dramatic rescue of the group of 12 boys and their soccer coach from a cave in Thailand, their story has been brought to the big screen by Oscar-winning filmmaker Ron Howard.
The Wild Boar soccer team was exploring the Tham Luang cave complex in northern Thailand's Chiang Rai in June 2018 when monsoon rains flooded the tunnels and trapped them underground. The boys, aged between 11 and 16, and their 25-year-old coach survived 9 days in a partially flooded chamber, some 4 kilometers inside the cave, by drinking water dripping from the rocks before they were discovered by 2 British cave divers. The complicated rescue operation took nearly 3 weeks and involved Thailand's elite Navy SEAL units and volunteers from around the world. 13 Lives recreates the 17-day ordeal inside the sprawling cave complex and out above the mountain covering it, where volunteers, engineers, and soldiers pumped millions of liters of water out of the cave and drilled through rocks looking for gaps to reach the boys and to make way for water pipes and power cables.
It's stunning what was achieved, and it's not just about the heroic divers. You know, it really is an entire community and a country and a lot of countries ultimately participating and making something amazing come true.
13 Lives stars Viggo Mortensen and Colin Farrell as British divers Rick Stanton and John Volanthen, with Australian actor Joel Edgerton taking on the role of Harry Harris, who was brought on to help out when options to save the boys were running out. Stanton, Volanthen, and members of the International Rescue Dive Team, Chris Jewell, Josh Bratchley, and Conan Rowe, attended the film's premiere in London's Leicester Square on Monday, praising Howard's interpretation of the events.
Well, look, I think it's good to know that for people to know, what happened. It's not a documentary, but it's pretty much true to life. And what is completely realistic and emotive is the feeling that the crowd scenes and what was going on in the cave camp and in the cave. That really does replicate it very well.
The rescue efforts claimed the life of a former Thai Navy SEAL diver who had volunteered to help, while another Thai Navy SEAL officer died 1.5 years later from a blood infection he contracted during the operation. 13 Lives will be released in select US and UK cinemas on 29th July and launches globally on Amazon Prime Video on 5th August.
It's insane. It's unethical. It's illegal. Man's already died.
The new feature film from Deb Savandara, titled Single Dad, premiered early this month as part of the 11th Cambodia International Film Festival and will hit theatres this week on Thursday the 21st of July. EAC News attended the movie's premiere on the 2nd of July at Major Complex, L1, and had a chance to speak to some of the stars.
The premiere of Single Dad was buzzing with stars, celebrities, and prominent members of the film industry, all specially invited for this red carpet event at Major Cineplex Eon 1. During the event, the stars of the film briefly went up on stage to share a few words. Tep Brindaro, who played the father in the film, highlighted how this movie portrays a warm relationship between father and son. The film's lead actress Heng Chantha is a former beauty queen and winner of Miss Grand Cambodia 2016. Speaking with the press, she said that what she liked most about this film is the focus on the relationship between the father and son and the reflection of present societal pressures. Singer Ting Tong was invited as a special MC for the premiere event and shared a few words about how he hopes audiences will continue to support local artists and local Cambodian cinema.
up and down ជារៀងរាល់ឆ្នាំអត់សូវ up ហើយឡើងរហូតទេអញ្ចឹងក៏ចង់ជម្រាបទៅដល់បងប្អូនទាំងគ្នាថាការទេសនាការចូលរួមទិញសម្បត្តិទេសនាខ្សែភាពយន្តខ្មែររបស់យើងមិនថារឿងរបស់ LD នៅគ្រប់ផលិតកម្មទាំងអស់គឺសុទ្ធតែជាការបង្ហាញនៅស្មារតីស្នេហាជាតិនិងសិល្បៈជាតិវប្បធម៌ជាតិរបស់យើងដូចគ្នា
Excitement for the film was palpable among the invited guests, especially since Single Dad is a totally locally made production with a Cambodian director, writer, production company, and cast. Premiering as a part of the 11th Cambodian International Film Festival, which triumphantly returned after a 2-year pandemic-induced hiatus, made it all the more special. Producer Liek Lida, the chairman of LD Entertainment, the company that produced Single Dad, said he is hopeful for the support this film will receive after seeing the great response and participation in the film festival.
Single Dad នេះក៏មានចាក់បញ្ចាំងនៅក្នុងកម្មវិធីតាំងពីពណ៌នឹងដែរហើយយើងឃើញថាថ្ងៃបើកបញ្ចាំងនៃការប្រពៃពិធី CIR យើងឃើញមានច្រើនមែនតើចូលរួមអញ្ចឹងយើងសង្ឃឹមថារឿងនេះនឹងមានអ្នកគ្រប់គ្រងខ្លាំងមែនយើងឃើញនៅក្នុង reaction ដែលពេលយើង post trailer នៅលើ page cinema មួយយើងឃើញថារយៈពេល 3 ម៉ោងយើងមានអ្នក reaction រហូតដល់ 500 ទៅ 600k បាទអញ្ចឹងយើងសង្ឃឹមជឿជាក់មែនតើ
Liek Lida also said he is less concerned about receiving only positive feedback, but would rather see people actively discuss and interact with each other about the film so that they can get an idea of the real audience response.
សូមឲ្យប្រជាពលរដ្ឋទាំងអស់ដែលបានចូលរួមទស្សនានៅរឿងនេះហើយសូមឲ្យតម្លៃពិតប្រាកដមកខាងផលិតកររបស់ពួកខ្ញុំដូចជាការចូលរួម comment ឬក៏ reaction ទៅលើរឿងហ្នឹងនៅពេលណាដែលពួកគាត់បានមើលបាទគាត់ផុសនៅលើ social media ផងគាត់ថារឿងហ្នឹងល្អមើលឬក៏អត់បើសិនជាល្អមើលគាត់ស្អីតែល្អមើលទៅគាត់និយាយអាចនិយាយបានពីចំណុចល្អតែបើរឿងហ្នឹងអត់ល្អមើលទេគាត់អាចនិយាយពីចំណុចអាក្រក់នៅរឿងហ្នឹងបានដើម្បីពួកយើងបានតម្លៃពិតការរិះគន់ការលើកទឹកចិត្តហ្នឹងគឺជាតម្លៃពិតដែលពួកយើងចង់បានច្រើនជាងអ្វីទាំងអស់
Single Dad is the latest comedy film from LD Entertainment. Directed by Diep Sovandara, it tells the story of a single 30-year-old man who is still living with his parents and centers on a father-son relationship, which seems to be a little broken when the son refuses to find a girlfriend. The son's father then takes matters into his own hands to help his son find a girl by becoming his seduction teacher. Single Dad will begin screening in theaters all across the country from Thursday, 21st July. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
A new space for all things slime has opened in New York. The Slow-Mo Institute hosts an enormous slime wall, a glow-in-the-dark slime cave, and even a slime lake that visitors can jump into.
Layla Singer turned 10 on Tuesday, 19th July, and as a special birthday treat, she got drenched in slime at the Slow-Mo Institute in New York.
I love slime. That's just me, but my dad hates it, so probably wasn't the most fond experience for him.
And just how did it feel for him?
So gross. Not my most favorite thing in the world, but you know what? They absolutely enjoyed it. It was fantastic.
The Slumu Institute is dedicated to all things slime, with an enormous slime wall decorated by more than 100,000 visitors to the Institute, a 350-gallon slime lake that visitors jump into and feel 6 inches of squishy, soft slime with their bare feet, a glow-in-the-dark slime cave, and much, much more.
The Slumu Institute is a place of joy. It focuses on everything around sensory play, from slime, which is one of our core focuses, but we also have ASMR, kinetic sand, and a lot of different fun compounds for people to play with.
Slumu was created in 2019 after co-founder Karen Rabinovitz found that slime helped heal the grief she was going through at the time. Schiller and Rabinovitz had been good friends for 14 years, and both went through very personal tragedies.
Both of us, about 5 years ago, went through really personal tragedies. Her husband died, and her cousin was in the Parkland school shooting, and my husband had massive bilateral strokes resulting in severe disability. So the two of us were together as friends, and Karen discovered slime. She fell in love with slime because it made her feel good. She really came out of a state of depression, and she called me up and said, I have to bring this over to you. And she said, this is not the slime of our childhood. She came over, I have 2 daughters, and we started playing, and you could not take the smile off of all of our faces.
Schiller said slime brought them out of their grief because playing with the slime centered them. She and Rabinovitz realized that they wanted to bring this joy to everyone, to families, to adults, and to give people permission to play and have fun. Slime starts with a glue base, and ingredients like lotion or clay are added to make it silky or soft. Schiller said slime taps into all of your senses, and the sense of touch is proven to release endorphins and to make your brain feel good. Most of all, she emphasizes that slime is for everyone.
One of the hallmarks of Slumu Institute is that we're an inclusive space for everyone. We have a really diverse group of guests who come in, and we have a really diverse workforce. So we have a neurodiverse workforce that's really important to us. So we're bringing together people from all walks of life, and they're coming together around slime and play.
And finally, San Diego Comic-Con opened its doors to the public on Thursday, the 21st of July, after the coronavirus pandemic forced the cancellation of the previous 2 years.
Visitors to the convention were required to show proof of vaccination or a negative COVID-19 test to enter. Corey Crowell, 28, from Los Angeles, who was in costume as Marvel villain Kang the Conqueror, said he was excited but also a bit wary.
Yeah, excited but also kind of wary. But it seems like Comic-Con International is checking their boxes, dotting their I's and crossing their T's. So yeah, I'm happy to be here with fellow nerds and just showing up and showing out.
30-year-old Tori Finley flew in from Canada for the convention. The last time she had attended was in 2019 before the pandemic.
Really excited. I was here, I keep saying it's last year, it's been 3 years. I was here for 2019, so it's good to be back. It's the one time a year all of my friends from all over the world are in the same place. So it's nice to be back with everybody and just get to see all these new faces, meet new friends. It's a big part of why I come, so it's really good to be back.
The San Diego Comic-Con goes all out with sci-fi and fantasy spectacles. TV and movie studios open up themed experiences. People dress up as their favorite fantasy characters, and announcements are made about the upcoming films and TV shows.
I mean, it's the biggest one out there. It's the one where all of the news happens. It's where you find out who's going to be in the next movie, when the next movie is happening. You get to see all these previews. There's some incredible, they've got costumes from, Star Wars in there. It's really, even though I said it's not that different from New York, it's the only place in the world you get to see that kind of stuff, all in one place.
The first film to be launched at this year's convention was Paramount Pictures' Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, starring Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Regé-Jean Page, as well as Hugh Grant as the villain Forge. Speaking after the panel, Grant said that the trailer seemed to have gone down really well with the crowd.
It seemed to go down really well. There was proper laughter, I thought, in the scene with the dead bodies. Dead bodies are always funny, but these seemed especially funny.
For Bridgerton star Regé-Jean Page, being a part of the convention was a dream come true.
It's beyond your wildest imaginings. There's something about anyone who's even vaguely geek adjacent at this point, which I have been for a lot of my life. Walking out on Hall H is a dream. It's about being able to step out into your community and feel that excitement, feel that enthusiasm, and be able to kind of feed into that and be at the center of that is a privilege beyond words. It's beyond belief.
More announcements are set to be made as Comic-Con continues through to Sunday, 24th July.
Thanks for watching the weekly Roundup here on EAC News Channel. More from the EAC News team on the Daily Roundup Monday night at 8 p.m. I'll see you then.